back with your favorite letter of the alphabet, the Z. But this right here ain't no regular. No,
I got it.
You're lying.
I got it.
Not with the Nismo. Come on, you could have waited any other time.
My name is Rashad, and today we're gonna find out if the Nissan Nismo Z is enough to make me go O shift and switch out of a Porsche 911 and into a Nissan Z. Welcome to O shift. As mentioned, one has to ask themselves, is the Nissan Nismo Z enough to choose a Nissan over a Supra, over a Porsche 911? Because for us, the Nissan Z gives us more questions than answers, but we're gonna try to figure that out. So when we ask the question, why aren't we seeing more Zs, we don't mean any disrespect. And a special thanks to Nissan for letting us borrow this Nissan Nismo Z. From my perspective, the car is pretty amazing. It's sort of fantastic. I'm curious why more enthusiasts aren't driving these cars. Now, y'all know me, I'm not a technical expert at this. We'll leave that to the real automotive journalists. So far, I'm really digging the Nissan Z. This is my first time behind the wheel, and it's crazy. I think my perspective might be tainted because the first time I've ever actually driven a Z besides an old 240 is a Nismo, and that's pretty crazy. But the first thing I really like about the car is the color. When they delivered the car, the first thing I said is, damn, I want to drive that. You know, it really made me want to get in it.
White?
Yeah. I don't typically like white cars. Y'all know I like black cars and green cars, but this metallic pearlescent sort of white, it just looks so damn good. And the extra trim. Now I will say, it's got some extra bulkiness going on here in the front. That's kind of hit or miss, but the Nismo retake on the grille, I will say, accents the car a lot better. What really stood out to me was these crazy raised wheels. My understanding is that these are Fords, so they're lightweight. If it were my spec, I probably would paint it gold. I think that would look a little bit better than black wheels. I'm just not a huge fan of black wheels, but everything about this Z is just really sick. It's got the Recaro Nismo seats in it. Great for us big back Americans. I love that. We have some Alcantara or some Race Tech or whatever you call it in a Nissan, but it's got the nice suede on the steering wheel. I will say, Nissan, come on now. We need a stick shift in the Nismo. Make it happen. Make it happen. Let's sell some cars, right? Aside from that, I will say the gearbox and the paddles, they feel great in the hand. The car is quick. I drove the car up ACH and I mistakenly ended up in a run group with a bunch of Porsche 911s. Ironically, a Porsche 997 in front of me, and it kept up, you know, and I didn't feel too out of balance. I love all the sort of historical references. To me, the lights are kind of like a throwback to the original 240. The tail lights are like a throwback to the 300 ZX. I love the 3 instrument clusters on the dash. You know, everything about this car is honestly really, really dope. And I have to say, you know, coming out of a 997, which is old, you know, my 997 is a 2009, and you know, it's old. And all of the modern technology in this one, between the Apple CarPlay and the air conditioning, is a very livable car. My friend Jacob asked me, he said, shout out Kids of Today, he said, could you drive this car around? And I said, hell yeah, this is a great grand tour. I could drive this thing from here to Atlanta. And Nissan, if you want to let me do that, I'll be happy to take it across the country. Yeah, man, I just summarized it by saying, I feel like this is a really good modern retro throwback to the Nissan Z. If you like Nissans, you should definitely check it out. The question still remains now, should you choose this? Should you choose a Supra? Should you choose a BMW M2? Should you go buy a BRZ and throw 20,000 worth of mods on it? Or would you stick with the 997, which to me is really kind of like the perfect sports car of all time, between the ergonomics, the greenhouse, the power to weight ratio. It's tough. It's tough, I'm torn, but enough talking about the Z. Let's drive that mother.
One thing I love about this car is the opening sequence on the dash. Super nice.
Now, as we drive these cars, we're gonna rate them according to how they look, how they make us feel, how they sound, the value of them, if you can drive them daily, and if they'll have a legacy to them.
Now, from a look standpoint, similar to what I said in regards to the heritage and the performance, I think it looks the part. I don't love the front lights. I absolutely love the rear tail lights. The overall shape, styling of the car looks good. The Nismo sort of front end, the sort of extra body cladding or aero, to me is, I think, hit or miss, especially on the front. Where the front lip connects to the fenders is not as smooth as I would like to see it. I don't know. I think the car looks great. Like, I definitely park the car and look back at it, you know? So I don't know if that's prisoner of the moment energy or what, but I think from a looks perspective, I would probably give the car a 4 out of 5. So performance, I think it's important to put it in Sport Plus mode. I will say, I'm just gonna give them a 5 out of 5 on this. I have driven many of modern sports cars. I own the Shelby GT350. I currently own a Porsche 911. I mean, performance and thrill, like, it's an exciting drive. I think there's a little room on the table, you know, to do a little bit more, you know, so stay tuned for that, but I like it. So I don't know. Let's see. Now, we're gonna keep it PG on these public roads, but from a performance and thrill perspective, I would give them a 4.5 out of 5. I think they left a little room on the table, but honestly, I've driven many modern BMWs. I've driven modern Mustangs, modern 911s. Sure, you can nitpick and say that all these cars have different things. To be honest with you, I think most modern sports cars do the performance thing very well. I will say that Nissan, in this case, has done a good balance of stopping, going, transmission programming, you know, mode selections. To me, from a performance and thrill perspective, it's a thrilling drive, you know, and it's fun. I love the little pops and bangs. They sound a little muffled and artificial, but now I will say that it's a little disappointing that Nissan did not offer this car in a manual. So Nissan, bless us with a manual. Maybe we'll sell some more cars. I will say, I do like the paddles. I feel like the transmission is pretty responsive. If you want different sort of responsiveness, I feel like these modern transmissions can be tuned accordingly. So I will say that the paddles feel good. Nine speeds is a lot though. I don't really know what to do with 9 speeds. Red line on this car appears to be at 7,000 RPMs. I love the pops and bangs when you hit the downshift and deceleration. So from a sound perspective, you hear some noises, especially when you put the car in sport mode. I mean, it sounds good. You know, I'm being critical. I just can't tell if those sounds are authentic or if they're, you know, I don't know. From the inside of the car, and a lot of modern cars struggle with this, between the sound deadening, you know, and everything, it's kind of hard to hear the real noise of the car, you know, and I think, you know, sometimes the automobile manufacturers are pumping in noise to sort of compensate for that. And to me, it just sounds a little artificial. So from a sound perspective, I probably give the car 3.5 out of 5 stars. Now, we found the sticker price on this car, and it's listed at $68,000. Now, I don't know about you, but $68K is a lot of money for me, and it forces you to look at other options to compare to make a sound financial decision. And at $68,000, do you go with the Toyota Supra? Or maybe a BMW M2? Or do you choose a Nissan Z Nismo?
You know, I don't know that there's anything overwhelmingly special about the Nismo that makes you say, oh my God, I have to get this, and I have to pay this premium. I have to pay this $68,000 MSRP. And objectively, I think that's why some of those cars are not moving and why they're not on the road. Regardless of whatever I think, the public has made an opinion. The consumer market has made an opinion on whether that car is a good value or not. So in terms of daily drivability, I would give this car a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think, in essence, anyone could daily drive this vehicle. It sort of does that very well. It is a Grand Tour style car. I don't know if Nissan portrays it that way, but that's how it feels to me. There's two things that I have a sort of issue with. One is the cargo area. The trunk is very shallow. The way that it's set up, I don't really know where I should put my stuff. It's got a little cubby hole behind the seat. Not great. You know, there's other daily drivers that are sports cars that are a little bit more practical. 911, Cayman. The second thing that I'll say is that it's got a lot of blind spots. It's actually kind of hard to see out of this vehicle. And Nissan really had to go out of their way to help with the monitoring. And I will say, for that purpose, the monitoring system works very well. So daily livability, this is a great car for that. Now, in terms of legacy and heritage, I think I would probably give the Z a 4.5, maybe even 5. I think the car looks like a Z. I see the elements, positioning of the Z badge, the lights, the rear lights. It gives me Z. Maybe other Nissan and Z enthusiasts have a different opinion, but it feels like a Z car. 2-door, front engine, rear-wheel drive, long hood. I think they did a great job paying homage to their heritage and doing it in a modern form factor. I would love to have this car and have like an old one to sort of like as my 2-car solution. So from a heritage perspective, I'd probably give them a 4.5. You can find a million reasons not to buy this car. I would encourage you to look for a reason to buy it. And if you do, you might find it.